there, I hope you are all good and safe. I'd like to make this video to explain what it's like to students in the Energy Dynamic Academy about the process of falling. We already cover this in the Making Sense of Everything course, but I want to add to that by telling you about my experience of falling from the mind and into your reality. But what I call it is landing, because what happens is you then do land into your real world and everything starts to change. This is all explained in the Eye in the Storm book as well, in the chapter called The Landing, and I also talk about it a lot in the film 42. And as I'm going through this video, I'm going to reference parts of that film to the subjects I'm talking about, because that film really does explain the whole process. But first of all, before I start, I just like to say what happens when you do this process. When you follow the energy dynamic model, what happens? Basically, because you're looking at things from an energetic point of view, you do quite rapidly change your experience of life. Normally this happens within 3 months. The first thing that happens is that people do the courses, people read the books, and they get an understanding. That's what I call the first shift. So first of all, they understand how it works and they think, oh my goodness, that's my mind, that's my feels, that's my spirit. I can understand that now. The second thing that normally happens is that they start to get to know who they are and more about feel scores. So they start to change, they basically start to look in and start to find that essence of who they are. They start to nurture that, they start to use their imagination, and they start to create really lovely things with their innate talent. That's what happens next normally. So we've gone up and down like that, and then up and down like that. So then the third shift happens, which is always a very big one, and the third one is actually applying it to your environment, or in shorthand, to where you live, to your real life. This is where it gets quite tough, and in the film 42, this is the bit at the end when the girl is on the beach with the umbrella. So the play, the silhouette in the film, the silhouettes on the hills are the mind drama. And then you go down onto the beach and you start to actually really experience and engage with your reality, instead of being up here hoping, shoulding, dreaming and planning and collecting ticks. So that's quite hard. So the first is the understanding, the second is the who you are, the third is applying it to your environment, and then you probably go, whoa. Because what will happen, lots of plus fills will come in, lots of bottles will empty. The environment around you will react to this because it does, because of how it works, and all sorts of things will happen. So once it's happened 3 times, the 4th time, again, it will happen once more. But by that time, you will start to get used to it. And by that time, you will have started to learn, for want of a better word, back to the film, how to ride the wave. How to ride the wave. You'll be able to stay on your surfboard and to stay on the wave after about the 4th shift. But before that, you'll be up and down, and it's all quite difficult, which is why I've done the courses, which is why I've written the books. So we're always here to help you. Okay, so rest assured. Now, the other thing I would like to say before I start about my landing is that this is not about happiness. This is not about that sort of thing. It's not about achieving your goal. It's not about your dream. What it's about is about discovering what you're here for. And once you know that, and once you can start to do that, you will feel more peaceful. Once you feel more peaceful, your mind will calm down and you won't be so stressed. That, in a sense, is when you will feel happier, although I wouldn't use happy to describe that word. Happy is kind of an emotional tick dream thing. Really, it's not about that. The energy dynamic model is not about happiness. What it's about is being at peace with yourself, feeling content and doing what you're here for, which gives you an extreme feeling of connectedness to, well, for want of another word, God, really, but you get a real feel of connectedness to your environment and to what's around you and to what you're creating, and you can see other people start to, their eyes change, their eyes light up, and they become full of light and love as they are around you, and they develop, and then they develop, and then people around them develop. So it's like being part of a huge kind of like web of loveliness. That's what it's like. But you have to do the work on yourself first, which is again is what I'm here for, because I can guide you through that process. But I am a human being like you, and that's why I want to tell you about my landing. But it's all about engaging with who you are, creating, using your imagination to create and bring your spirit into you, because the spirit has created you to be who you are. And once you know what that is and how that is and what you need to do, things will automatically come towards you, because they will be attracted to your light, and you won't have to do anything. You'll just have to keep your eye, your mind, your brain, not your mind, your brain on the present. Keep working out the field scores, keep doing the kind and humble thing, keep your boundaries strong, which I'll talk about in a minute, and things will naturally create around you. A bit like if you water a plant, it will naturally grow. If you do this, things will naturally develop, because we are plugged into that organic, natural law of creation. Okay, so it's not really about being happy, it's about being connecting to that and to creating something bigger than you. And in lots of the videos I've said, you know, 1 and 1 makes 2 when you're in this creation mode, and it's a beautiful experience, and that's what this is about for yourself and for others, and then they create more beauty. So this sort of evil world we live in, this system, in the end will be not attacked, because we don't attack the system, but what we do is we create an alternative way of being to the system. And if enough of us do that, then we will be able to balance the planet and eventually be able to have the whole planet living in this kind and humble way, nurturing each other, and everything will be abundant. So that's the quick word. Okay, so my landing, what happened? Now, I'm going to start 15 years ago when I was in London. I had a big plan to buy a house in Wales and have a happy life in the village. I had plans and goals and ticks then. And anyway, I did it. So we bought a house. I was with my partner. We moved here. I had 2 young children, 3 and 5. And the house was quite like, wow, you know, that this house was what symbolically was the dream, I guess. So that was that. Within 2 years, that started to fall to pieces, and the reason that it started to fall to pieces was because I realized that even though I had moved and everything, the dynamic within the family was still the same. So my boyfriend and I decided to split up very amicably. It was a happy split up. It wasn't nasty at all. But we split up, and then within 8 months of that, I lost my job because it was a funded job and I ran out of funding. Now, I had at this point obviously decided to, you know, follow my field scores and use my brain. So in a way, I was relieved about that, because I wanted to look after my children, and being a single parent with no friends or family in a foreign country, Wales, was quite difficult. So I jumped to the chance to go self-employed, and because I didn't need childcare, so I felt better about that. I felt better that the boyfriend and I had split up. Not because I didn't love him, because I did, but because the drama went down, and it was easier if we weren't together, because it was quite drama. And I'm sure he was as relieved as I was. So anyway, so I felt better because the drama had stopped. I felt better because I was able to look after my children, but I had no job, I had no friends, I had no family, and you know, everything was difficult. So I carried on for a couple of years and actually started to do this sort of thing. Started then, but it was all in my head. It was in my head when I was doing this one-to-one, and was quite successful. This is all in about 2 years. It was quite successful, and thinking, you know, that's great. But then I made a choice, again, following the energy dynamic model, sort of power, needs, and kind of humble. I've got myself into a situation where I was pregnant, so I decided to have the baby. And after that, everything really started to fall to pieces. But I had the baby, I had my children, we had plus feel scores, it was loving and caring. So I really focused in on at that point. Now, the person who obviously was the biological father of the third child was very difficult. Lots of minus feel scores there. I didn't live with him ever, so that wasn't an issue. But what the problem was that he was doing lots of minus feels around me, so so that was really hard. But I kind of carried on. Couldn't really get my business going again because I had the baby and it was difficult, and the other two children were at school, so I couldn't really do that. So, but because I'd earned money before, I did have enough money for a couple of years. So I kind of got through the next 2 years sort of dealing with this person. And I'd like to pause a bit now and talk about boundaries. One thing, and this is back to the energy dynamic model, not me. One thing is you've got to be very careful if you have people around you giving you minus feel scores, because if you just get rid of them, it doesn't do them any good or you any good, because from an energetic point of view, you've just cut the cord. So there's no healing taken place, no development has taken place. And what will happen is, because you have a cut cord, it will look for something to connect to, because that's your dynamic, right? So this energy thing other people feel that you've been getting with minus feels will still be kept in your brain. So you'll look for someone else, and that's why people repeat a lot. So what you need to do, and it's no good for them either, and this is all about love and care, kind and humble, remember. So what you need to do is you need to get yourself in a safe position. So if that means having a break for a couple of months, if that means removing them from your life for a couple of months, whatever, get out of the situation, have a break from it, see how they are, get them to understand what's going on, get them to see what they're doing, and give them an opportunity to make a step in their own healing. If they can't do that, keep them away from you. But if they can do that, you can then allow them to come a bit nearer. But keep an eye on it, keep looking, keep using your brain, and keep them at a safe distance from you. Okay, keep them at a safe distance from you. Sometimes people like that get better, sometimes they don't. It's up to them. But what you can do is you can keep yourself safe, and you can give them the opportunity to heal, because when they heal, so will you, right? If they don't heal, you will heal, because you've got that boundary, because you put them away from you. So if you keep them away from you and they don't heal, you will heal because they're away from you. But because you do this gradually, you will gradually lose that sort of dangling bit of cord that's trying to connect to someone that's got a minus feel. If you do this gradually, that cord will slowly start to sort of get smaller and smaller itself, because you'll be feeding yourself now from your own feel scores, because you've learned how to do it by doing these courses. So you will have less need of that minus feel dangly bit. It's a little bit complex, and I talk about that in the All About Feelings course, which is an advanced course. But I just want to talk for now about boundaries, and I'm just saying, don't suddenly disconnect from everyone. Don't do that. It's not about that. It's about nurturing and about love. But what you do is you keep yourself safe, and you put people away, far away from you, so you're safe, and then you see what happens day by day. Okay? Just keep an eye on it. Make sure you're safe. See how they're getting on, and go from there. So basically that's what I did in my situation, and after 2 years nothing had changed, and he said, right, I'm taking you to court then, so I can see the child. And so he did take me to court, and that took 2 years of fighting in the court. And that was when back to me, my landing, that was when I really started to land. That's when I really started to fall, because I lost almost everything. I lost my business because I couldn't work in my business. I lost my reputation. I lost all my mind tics. The court hammered me, absolutely hammered me. I had to defend myself. I had to become my own barrister. All I could do was be kind and humble and tell the truth, which doesn't protect you in court from attack. So I was just attacked basically for 2 years in courts, called all sorts of things, like a prostitute and a liar and other things. And my mind office kind of exploded. So what did I do? Well, what I did was I changed my job because I couldn't do this anymore. I decided to write it down. That's when I started to write the books down. It's when I started to do the very old videos that you may see in the courses. And I set up a gardening business. So what I was doing in the day was I was digging, which was plus fields. It was lots of old people. I was doing old people's gardens. So they were nurturing me. I was nurturing them. They were giving me a cup of tea. They were being nice to me. I put myself in an environment that was good, basically. So when I did go to court and got hammered, I had enough plus feels to get me through, and it worked, and it worked. And the court case went on for 2 years, and then the chap just showed himself really for who he was, and it all ended because it ended. But meanwhile, the next consequence of that was my daughter became very, very, very ill, mental health condition, and nearly died. And that was a direct consequence of the court case, which I had actually said in court. And then I spent the next 2 years looking after her, dealing with mental health people in the NHS in the UK, which was a challenge. As you can imagine, I still couldn't work. I couldn't even do gardening then. I had linked up with a friend of mine, and we were making sculptures out of recycled metal. Well, he was, and I was selling them for him. But it was really hard. But what I did do, again, plus feels. So I was focusing on caring for my little boy, who was then about 3. I took him out of school because I just wanted to get out of the system. Because interestingly, although I knew the system was, not so good, it wasn't until I got into the court system, and then my daughter, who was at school, became like she became. I just thought, I'm not going anywhere near the system. It's just annihilating us. And so my little boy didn't go to school, so I was homeschooling him. So he was around me a lot. And because he was around me a lot, and I was also still caring for my other 2 children, that's where I was getting my plus feels from. But what I went through with the mental health team and the doctors and the psychiatrists and the hospitals and all that was obviously very bad for my mind, because they were very, you've got an issue, see this therapist, and it was dreadful. And they also didn't actually do anything. And one reason that my daughter became so bad was because they didn't really do anything until she was nearly at the end of the line. And then they sort of locked her up in a unit, which I was wanting them to do for a long time before that. But anyway, once they did that, and she stabilized and she came out, then she started to recover. And I'm pleased to say that 3 years on from there, she's perfectly all right. No mental health issues at all. She is perfectly right. And a lot of that, I think, is because she was out the system for a while. Anyway, so this isn't really about her. This is about me. So what I'm trying to say is that really knocked the stuffing out of my mind as well. So it was really bad. So I had the court case, and then I had the daughter, and it was just dreadful. So that was probably about 5 years, probably, and I'm still in this house. This house that symbolically was my dream, this house where symbolically everything was going to get better. I tried to sell a house. I couldn't sell a house because I didn't have any money, and all this was going on. I couldn't repair it, so it had leaks. The electricity didn't work. The boiler broke down. It was all very poor, basically. And but that's when I did my videos. That's when I wrote the books, as I said. And some of the videos in the courses, Understanding the Mind and Understanding Stress and Making Sense of Everything, I did them in this period of time. In fact, I did the Understanding Stress videos when my daughter was actually put in the unit. I actually dashed to London to see my brother and did them while she was in the unit, because I knew she was in a safe place, so I could actually do that. And then I came back, you know, obviously, but it really was, it was the only thing I could do. It was literally the only thing I could do. So when I did the Making Sense of Everything course, at times when I recorded that, my roof was leaking and there was a bucket there, and I had to stop recording because it was raining and you could hear the rain in a bucket. But I'm not changing it though, because I look back at it now and think, oh, I could do it more professionally or whatever. That's what other people say, but I don't want to change it, because I was falling, I was landing, I was in this situation where I was changing my reality and everything was kicking off. But I wanted, but what I did was I could be who I was in a kind of humble way, and I could do those videos. So you can always find a little tiny space, and then once you find that little tiny space, you can grow it, and then from that, when it calms down, because it does calm down. So after about 2 years, so about 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half ago, everything calmed down. My daughter was getting better, my little boy was fine. And I decided to well, I'd done the videos, I'd done the books then, and I decided to concentrate back on this work again. So I started to do that, and over the last year I've done interviews, I've met people, I've got some practitioners, and tomorrow on 21st of June we have a meeting where I'm going to give out the certificates for the first level 1 practitioners, and they're absolutely fantastic people who've done courses in the academy and who now want to use those courses in their work, and they're going out and they're doing it, and it's great to see. So that's that. So what I wanted to, and meanwhile back to the house. So I'm still in this house. The last year it's got better because I've painted it, and my friend who I now is sort of my boyfriend. He does the garden, he's got the workshop there, he makes his sculptures, so he gets on with that. I still don't like the house. To me, it still is a trap. It still is something that was a dream, was an idea, and it didn't happen. So I still live in that house. But the more I go on, and the more I get plus feels, and the more my daughter's fine, my children are fine, I'm better, because I've had to sort of look at my health, not mental health, but my physical health, because all this has had a huge effect on my health. So I've been looking at my diet, I've been doing this, I've been taking care. It's been I've had to kind of come back from a long way down, really, you know. So I've been taking care, and now it looks like everything is really going to be okay. And so basically, once you start to shift things, your environment does change. I'm not saying for a minute it's bad. It doesn't change for the bad, but I just wanted to share with you that how can I put it? So long as you concentrate on your plus feels and who you are, you will be safe. Have a good boundary, but be kind of humble and be aware of the connection that if we can create, if you can create a bubble around you that's real, where you are being you and you are creating love and care. If someone else does that, and if someone else does that, and if someone else does that, what will happen is people will come towards that, and then it will become bigger, and it will become bigger. So rather than fight the system, what we need to do is we need to look at the facts, and we need to say no when it's not safe. And one thing to say no to, for example, is 5G, because 5G is going to be very, very unsafe for people. So it's about saying no when it's appropriate, but not focusing on the no, but just blocking it. And there's a video on YouTube It's called, I think it's lesson 5 in the energy dynamic model. It's on YouTube, but it's about that. And you do block, because you have to block, you have to stop the minus fields, but you don't attack them. So you block them, you do your thing, you concentrate on your thing, and then you grow. And then when you look at that, it tends to have disappeared. Just how it works. So say no. Don't worry about saying yes. Say no. Get yourself safe. Do your who am I's. Do the nurturing. Do the care, and you'll find slowly your world will shift around you, and you will feel better. And a quick note: this is not about happiness. This is not about happiness. This is about connection. This is about being who you are. Happiness is really an illusion that's sold to you by the mainstream everything, and it is not actually about me, achieve, dream, goal, success, happy. It's not about that. It's about knowing what we are here for, doing what we are here for, and by doing that we will create a better world, and you will feel content. The person next to you will be content. The person next to you will be content. And that is what it's about. It's a very deep, profound content and peace. And this is what the energy dynamic model does. And so many people get totally distracted by this happy. Forget about happy. Focus on content. Focus on that quiet, actually, I can just be, and I'm content. I actually feel content. I feel content. The people around me are content. And you can feel that. And that's about the connection. And as soon as you start to see the connection and the effect that you have on everything around you, focus on the ones where you can generate plus feels, and say no to the ones that are giving you bad feels, but don't disconnect. Just block and go back to it, see what happens. Chances are, in the end, they will go away by themselves. Okay, so I wanted to share that story with you. So the process I went through very much got rid of all my mind illusion, very much. Very much. First of all, the core, and then the mental health system, bang, you know. But by concentrating on plus feels, kind and humble, taking each day as it comes, and sticking to who you are, we all got through. And tomorrow will be the day that the level 1 practitioners get their certificates. So I hope this has been helpful, and thank you for listening. And do carry on taking the courses if you'd like to find out more. Thank you very much.